fumbling around here. So welcome. It's Bell and Bell episode number 6. Awesome show tonight. I should have wore a suit and tie to talk to the commissioner. Didn't have one handy. Awesome to have Ultra Magnus here. And we're going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to have a discussion at the beginning with the commissioner, and then we're going to turn it over and do part 2 for our playoff previews. Maybe by the time we get to the playoff previews, Lloyd and Philly Chris will have played because that's the last game left standing. So hopefully, and then we've got the full standings. But the seeds are pretty much locked in, so we can have a good discussion about playoff previews. But first of all, without further ado, welcome Ultra. Glad to have you, man.
Welcome.
You guys been working in the garden.
The Commish, nice to see you, buddy. So hold on here. I just rolled in the door. What happened in your guys' game? What's going on with the
Ultra beat me twice. Once in overtime.
Twice?
Yeah. I was up 4.
What's that do to the standings now?
It throws it totally out
I
of
play
whack.
you, Nate.
You play... Are you serious?
I skipped Sagathon. I skipped Sagathon in red.
Oh, I thought I was playing Saga for sure. Damn.
Well, the big thing that happened is Bell and I played. We played 5 periods, only 1 goal. The first period was 4-4.
First period
was
4-3 or 4-4, something like that.
First game was 4-4. I was up 4-1, and he comes back, ties it, wins it in overtime. Game 2, I could not score no matter what I did. He won 1-0.
Wow. So what's that? You're third now?
Yeah, I'm third. It sucks. So I'm going to be on the road against Caden if I get that far.
And who won Richfield Chalky? Did they play?
Chalky swept.
Chalky won both.
So what's that mean then? Chalky's 14?
Chalky's 14 right now, but if Lloyd sweeps Philly Chris, Lloyd would pass Chalky and put Chalky back to 15.
But isn't Philly Chris not around?
No, he just posted half an hour ago. He's back, and Lloyd just posted, I can play now. So they might be playing. I don't know.
Oh, shit. Okay. Nice.
That's the up-to-date, which would be all the games except for Maryland Mike's. So that's kind of cool if they get that in.
Okay. Nice. Wow, congrats, Alja. So we meet again. There we go. Nice.
This is dog shit.
I was pissed off.
Man. Wow.
The guy scored. How many clappers?
I'd rather play Sean than you right now.
How many clappers did you get? At least 3, maybe 4.
What's that?
Guy. How many clappers did you score me?
I scored 1 up, 1 down.
Is that it? Felt like all 5 goals were clappers.
No, some of them were one-timers. But the clappers, I've noticed you started trying to do the clapper up too. Not many people can get the down one, so they've been trying the up.
Damn.
I was only doing it because I was pissed off that you kept scoring on them.
Wow, that's massive. So what? Okay. Well, we can wait for the matchups, I guess, till after. But
they're pretty much locked in now.
So let's go through them just before we start with Ultra.
Okay, so Richfield is locked into 16 now, so he gets Pitt.
Oof, okay.
Caden is locked into 2nd, and he'll get either Sugar Valley or Providence.
So how much is Sugar Valley up by Providence? Like Providence needs to win both?
Sugar Valley has 56 points. Providence has 53.
Okay, so he needs all 4. Do you know who's got the tiebreaker?
Depends on who has the head-to-head.
Not sure about that.
I can open it up here. Sugar Valley against Lloyd. They split. Lloyd beat him 4-1. Sugar Valley beat him 1-0.
So then it goes to most wins and then goal differential.
Most wins is Lloyd has more right now. So
next season, I'm going to say it now, might as well. If we're going to adjust the tiebreakers, we're going to follow the NHL thing. So now I've actually calculated in the standings, we can do regulation wins, regulation and overtime wins. So you can see how many times have you won in regulation that you didn't need extra time to win.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Lloyd has the tiebreak. So if they tie, if Lloyd can get 3 points against Philly Chris, if they play, and I don't know, Philly Chris posted it looks like 9-12 saying I can play, and then a bunch of people were on there. Somebody must have contacted Providence, and he jumped on.
Caden probably told him.
That's funny. Okay, sick. So
3 points. So
you're either Chalky or Providence right now.
That's right. So Wolf is locked into playing Sutton, which is a good one.
Wow, that's good.
Puss is now playing Red, which is a good one.
Who's playing Red?
Puss.
Oh no!
And then the best one of all is Unholy and Sagathon.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't think there was a chance that
so
you could
the
pass
thing would have
Sagathon.
happened.
I thought it was locked into Sagathon there. Wow.
So there was an opportunity. I think if Sean had beaten me once, I would be playing Unholy and you'd be playing Sagathon because me and Sagathon had the same amount of points.
Yeah.
but then I passed them, and then I had the exact same amount of points as Sumter. We split our series. We had the same amount of wins, and I had to go to goal differential.
He got you there. Wow.
58 to
Shit,
42.
That's crazy. Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So then, so you two play, and then Sonoma and Pink, which is going to be a really good one.
Ooh, that's a
8-9.
juicy one too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, sick. Those are really good matchups then. All right.
Yeah. So we'll get into our playoff preview
Cool.
because the brackets also line up like really interestingly. So anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Well, Sean, if it does happen, and I knock your brother off, I get to play you if you beat out Chalky.
No. I'm in now. I'm in the 3-6, so I would have Unholy or Sagathon.
What are
after.
we? 3-7-10?
Oh, I didn't look at that.
You
We're
guys will
7-10.
you guys would be in the
Okay.
Caden side of the bracket now.
Oh, fuck.
It kind
Either
of
way, fucking death match to get through the
it
playoffs.
really kind of fucked
Hey,
me.
you know what?
Like
This is
that
my
was not
first
good.
appearance in 6 seasons, so I might as well enjoy
What
it.
was the last one against me? No, first
Yes,
7
and every
gamers.
and the funny thing is, every single one of my series I've been played in the playoffs, 7 games. Every single one of them, I lost in the last game.
What was the other one? Sunnyvale,
Sunnyvale and
LHX?
LHX.
Yeah, and then me. Yeah, shit. Damn, you actually outplayed me that series too. I remember I like hung on for that one.
I've done it against everybody, and I choke.
All right, that's sick. Well,
That's why Tequila Tom has to come out tonight.
There you go. So what the hell happened to you this season? Holy shit!
I told you this. I told you just before. I'm doing everything I don't normally do.
So what does that mean? I saw what you said, but I didn't know what you're talking about.
So a lot of the time, and for me being the commissioner, like I don't want people to quit, and I figure that nobody's going to really quit unless they don't want to play anymore. So beat up on everybody I should beat up on, and keep it close with the people I should. And if I can pull off some wins against the top, then it put me in a good spot. And I think this year I played a little bit more manual, but I don't rely on it. And I think my spinorama has been catching on in the league. So that's one of the things that we heard on the last one is with Nips having his little shimmy shake with Segathon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do shimmy shakes. I do like doing those ones where the player changes over, you start seeing them come towards you, you do a spin, and the guy just goes by you or he bumps into you and you can continue going. So it changes the angle for the AI hitting you. And Segathon thinking he knows everything in the game, I actually have the game where I've actually decoded the whole game.
Okay, but you still only ended up 10th.
I know. But that's far better than my 17 and 18 in the last 6 years.
Well, and I don't know if you saw all of last week's award show, but you won one joke award for best rant, but then you did win. Oh. You won like a legit award that we had. Most improved gameplay this season, and I think that was justified. And now
I love ranting because it's always somebody with fucking Pink and his stupid like news breaking things and saying that for some reason there's some kind of fucking travesty going on in the league and I'm out selling peyote to local kids or something.
Do you get pissed off when you read those? Like I find them so funny, but they're not happy.
At times I'm just like, you know what? I know it's all in good humor. And then sometimes I'm like, if I'm in a bad mood, I'm just like, no, fuck this. I'm flying off the rails. And 99% of the time when I see them and I'm pissed off, I'm driving because I either just dealt with a bullshit situation with a client or I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it, Pink. Let's go. And it's rant after rant after rant. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't say that in that video. I got to say it in the next one. Make another one. I'm like, shit, another one.
Oh, man.
So 14 funny. Videos later, I eventually get my point across and then I apologize being Canadian.
Yeah, I don't know. Those pink ones make me laugh sometimes, and then I'm always like, I laugh at them, and I'm like, I wonder if they was targeted at me. I'm not sure how I'd feel.
Well, the thing is that I don't know where the Tommy fumbles came in, but the whole thing with me saying like I fumble every decision, I'm like, I'd like to see them make the decision on anything other than bitching and moaning.
Well, yeah, nobody envies being a decision maker, so let's talk about that in a little while for sure. Is there anything else you've done differently this season besides like not lose to the shittiest players?
Well, to be honest, let's be honest here. Having the box score bot, it's giving me less time to focus on creating box scores, posting them. Still have to do the admin stuff behind, but me and Ellis are working together on trying to get everything running in all the leagues, in any future leagues. So it'll be like a quick setup, and I just have to drop a few files in, and next thing you know, it's running, and then. Yeah. And then the league database, which everybody's busting my fucking balls for. Go back and do 29 seasons of data collection and try to put it all together. It's
With all
fun.
due respect, you brought that entirely on yourself.
I did. But I did complete the player database thing from 1909 to
Right,
present
right.
date. So at least
But
that's
if you
done.
had not posted to say the database will be out, and nobody would have known the database was even a thing.
Well, every time I say it, at least I'm posting like I didn't say the player one, like the league one was going to eventually be released, but like the first 3 seasons have been a pain in my dick that I have to go back to every single box score and manually enter them
Oh
all.
man.
Is so much fun when there's like 1,700 games. Some of them, like, so I figured out some tricks and I'm like sleeming through it, but I have all the game data from season 4 to now for the W, every single season for the Q, vintage for the 1 year, and I just got to dump it into the file and then format it, and then it's done.
We got
So you want statistics? You're gonna have a boatload of fucking
we got
statistics.
a golden era in there too. Or?
Yeah, golden era is getting put into there at some point. I just got to remember what date it was. But I had that too. I have them all
Sick.
saved. I just want to clean up my computer and get rid of all the shit old files.
I thought the database was like for player ratings.
There's
Is
the
it?
player ratings one that's been completed. It's done.
Oh, that's done.
I have
Cool.
to go back from 1980 and backwards to adjust some algorithms for the forwards and defensemen because defensemen back then they weren't like Hale McCarr is now. So I have to kind of adjust defensemen on a defenseman level instead of a whole league level. And it's 1980s and back, which I've already done everything from. The whole thing's done. It's basically Pink's going over it right now, and he basically said it's a huge thing for anybody who wants to like scout players,
Cool.
generations, everything. It's all there. No matter what league we start, it'll have all that data. And no one can say, "Oh, well, this guy's this year and this." Fuck you. It's there and it's done.
So that'll be across all leagues.
Across all leagues, and they don't have to ask for it. You don't have to wait for it. You'll have your own database, you can download it and have it, and it's done.
That's cool.
Sick. And so okay, so then the other one you're working on, like the stats wise one you're doing
Stats
now.
wise. So this is like league
so
records,
players done. Yeah, okay.
Drafts.
Gotcha.
Like I have all the trade history. I had to go back. I'm looking for statistics from like you playing season 3 against Sammy Smith, for an example.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Gotta go find that safe state. Go find that safe state. Can't find it. How do I have it? Only with one box score. Manually enter all the stats.
Yeah, it seems tedious.
I like to have it all because then there's not going to have that conversation being like, where's the data from season 3? It's like, it's all fucking there.
Well, it'd be kind of cool, like to see even like head-to-head stuff. Like that's what I like. The peer, I like seeing the like head-to-head shit and like.
Well,
there's
nice going to be there's just going to be one called the coach's profile. So it's going to have like you select your name and it's going to populate everything that you've ever done across all NHL 95 leagues. Sick. So it'll have all your teams, it'll have all your playoff statistics, it'll have your championships, your league titles. So your league titles are like if Sean finished first in the end of the year, that's a league title. But he didn't win the championship that year. So you'll be able to see how many league titles you had as well, or championship titles or whatever. And then it'll have your players from every single season, all the players you've ever drafted, all the statistics and like how you traded for them and not, the schedules for every single season, your player rankings for those seasons, and your team rankings for those player seasons. And then there's going to be graphs at the bottom that kind of like dictate everything. Kind of like the Pure in a way, because I've talked with Puss about it. So it's just layout and formatting right now.
Do you enjoy doing this stuff?
I'm a fucking computer geek. I guess so.
Man, that seems like probably one of the worst things I could ever imagine having to do.
It's something fun. I just always love numbers. And I think, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but maybe in the next few years, I'm going to take a step aside from playing and just focus on the background and watch guys and let them play. And I can be more involved with like things like this and not have to play and just be more looking at it from an outsider's perspective instead of an insider's. But I don't want to take a season break now because I'm seeing how fucking poorly everybody does when they take a season off and they come back and get their ass rammed.
Yeah, that's really true. I think it's really hard to take some time off at this point.
Well, when Klein comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if Klein misses the playoffs and finishes below 500 in his first season.
Yeah, if he ever comes back.
I don't think he will.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about with your season. I mean, it was wildly successful. I don't think too many people would have predicted you finishing 10th.
I don't think anybody predicted me to even make the playoffs, put it that way.
Right.
Especially
like,
on Wolf's wonderful playoff rankings where he takes everybody at the bottom and shuffles those, but doesn't touch the top 16.
Looking at the standings, though, I do want to ask you guys about, we're going to talk about the playoff teams after this is over, but for the teams that did not make the playoffs, who among that group is kind of saying this was a bust of a season, I really fucked up, and who's looking at it from a this was pretty good, I'm happy with where things turned out.
Ellis, I think he just shit the bed because he took a season off, and that's what happens when you take a season off, and it can drastically see how your game changes. But you could see guys like Baytown, Yoda, those guys, they've improved. But the guy I think that like really took a step back was probably Autobahn, but he's been in that position before.
Yeah, that's fair. Any other thoughts on that, Nate? Like you're looking at the same list I am. G-Lock just missed again.
G-Lock's always like that. He's that playoff bubble team.
Every year, 2 points down, he missed out on Richfield.
That's two times too many nipples that he showed on the freaking screen.
That's so close for that. That sucks for him, I guess. That's 2 years in a row he's been the first out, maybe even more, but definitely the last two.
Anyway, well, once that database is released, everybody will find out how many times it's happened.
That's right. Who knows? Any of those guys stand out to you, Nate?
I'm trying to load this up here. It's kind of slowly. Oh, there we go. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Like Ellis, obviously his season is pretty gross. That roster's bad, but you wouldn't expect. I mean, I feel like Ellis has made the playoffs. Before he took a break. He took a season break.
He's made the playoffs 3 times.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were all as like 16, 15 seed kind of rankings.
Yeah, I mean, Audubon stands out for sure. Like, I mean, I remember when we previewed the season, we both said Audubon Richfield had the, season to prove kind of thing.
Trust me, when you look at this database, you're going to be like, fuck, it just Audubon's trajectory has been this.
Yeah, interesting.
Every season, he'll have an off season, he'll bounce back, off season, bounce back, off season, bounce back. It's the same thing in the queue.
When did he make the playoffs last?
2 seasons ago.
Really? Okay. I was thinking it was longer than that.
No, I have all the teams that have ever made the playoffs. I've had the longest hiatus.
How many seasons is this for you?
6 seasons.
Wow.
I haven't made it since season 7 was when I played Nate last.
Wow. Yeah, we're season. Okay, shit.
And then I played Vic season 1. I played Klein's LHX season 2, and I played Sunnyvale season 3. Then I had 3 years off, and then I played Nate, and then now.
Yeah,
wow.
This is a big one.
I play Nate again. Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, even your goal differential at plus 42 is impressive.
Better than mine.
It is my 3rd best ever.
Put you at you're right in the mix of the top guys. There's a group at about 60, and then there's another group below that. Yeah, pretty impressive. Goal differential, Richfield's at minus 18. He's by far stands out as the worst playoff team.
He's like Minnesota Wild and Montreal Canadiens making the playoffs this year in real life. The only 2 teams in league history that have ever made it with a goal differential negative.
And realistically, Maryland Mike was at plus 22. So if he had finished his season, Richfield would not.
It's tough. It was another family situation. Same thing with Matty A.
Yeah. The only other guy in the bottom group that did not make playoffs with a positive goal differential is Krav plus 1, which is pretty impressive. Yeah.
Well, he's turned it on. This is I think is his 4th season, and from where he started, like he's improved drastically.
Yeah.
But since the awards are coming back this year, the actual league awards, not your fictitious ones, but which I love because they were fucking amazing. How you guys were ranting about them last week. I wish I was on that one, but New Jersey Killer.
Yeah,
he's the new guy on the block. He's making the playoffs next season.
Think so.
If he doesn't miss his beat that he's done this year, he'll make the playoffs next year.
The thing is, like, how did he end this season? Like, he's been killing it because he started off really bad this season. I was like,
I think he finished. I think he's finished. He started the season bad, but his last 10 was 5-3-2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, big wins.
Yeah, but look, his standing 16, 29, 3-2. Like, he's at 370. A long way to go. I think people are jumping the gun here. Him making the playoffs next means somebody he has to leapfrog a lot of guys to get to the.
So when you look at the guys who have made the playoffs, and then you look at who got in this year, Richfield either sucks it or not. Oh, yeah, that's what happened. Lloyd just won. He moved on.
Oh,
Lloyd won?
Chalk dropped. So Lloyd's ahead of Chalky.
Wow. Okay, so that means then I played Lloyd. Our connections have just been brutal. Like
No, mine's pretty quick, but
I can't
so
like we can't even see each other on our games with each other right now.
it is getting to a point like, and I know we are going to have the conversation about it, but I think that like, yeah, maybe jumping the gun, making the playoffs, but he's made the leap up to that next tier, and then I think then next season he's going to be that bubble team.
Yeah.
And then potentially he can make that leap ahead. Or
That
I
makes
should
sense.
bet again.
Like Krav this season, right?
That's
Took
right.
that like
Yeah.
intermediate season.
He probably had what I don't remember what Crowd had last year, but I would bet it was closer to 10 wins than 20.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
he was around. I think he was around like 12 or 13.
Okay, so he's up to 19 this year. And Jared, like, is 13 wins consistent for him, or is that an improvement?
Yeah, that's about consistent for him. Like he was a bubble team maybe in his second season, but this is his fifth, and he stepped away from the queue. So I think that is some guys. I think that it's getting to the point that like they come in waves, and like then like I look back at how many guys are from the original season one. We're still at like 80% of the guys from season one are still here.
Oh, really?
So if you think about retention for three full years, that's pretty good. And then from season 3, I think we have still over 80% of the guys are left.
When did it start? I was trying to remember what year it was.
August 2021.
Seriously, eh?
August 8th.
Shit.
August 8th was the start of the
That's
league.
wild.
I was going to
That's really
guess
wild.
22, so we joined. So the season 2 was 2021 as well, the fall.
Yeah, you guys started in October of 2021, October 17th, I think it was.
Damn.
No, October 21st. Sorry, playoffs finished October 17th or 18th.
That's wild. That doesn't feel that long ago, but that's almost 4 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. August will be 4 years.
Wow, good stuff.
Did you ever imagine that you'd still be going here?
Why do you think I'm trying to do the league database right now? Honestly, when I first started this, I was never expecting it to get maybe 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and the guys would be like, okay, the novelty's over. And then like some of the guys, like there has been some guys in the league that left, and I was just like, fuck, I wish they had stayed. I think the league would be maybe if they stayed for 2 or 3 more seasons, I think the league would have gotten more traction than it has, which it's been interesting that we're still around like that 28 to 32 teams.
Yeah.
But we're still cycling out 2-3 guys every year, and there's 2 or 3 new guys coming in. So if we keep that consistency, it's pretty good. And then we got the Q, which went down to 12, and now we're back up to like 16. So it's like it's gonna like kind of cycle its way through. I think a lot of guys are waiting for another league to start to some degree. So I don't know, like the golden era Nate liked it.
Me and Maddie might have been the only ones.
Yeah, I loved
it. Was sick. Yeah, Golden Era was awesome.
Golden Era, I
That's
think it was
my pride and joy.
1917.
I better see that in the database, the trophy beside my name. For
It will be.
Yeah, it is kind of, if you were to take all the guys who have left the league and still have them in, it would be a pretty big group.
We would like when people say I don't like tiers, there would actually be a tiered league because
you would have 2 different realms.
There's 57 guys have joined the league and left or stayed or left. The prominent ones that I remember, well, I'm not like I still include the guys that are like came and played 10 games and then left, which Leviathan was one of those guys. But not talking about At One Sir, who played 1 game, got blown out by LHX, and then quit the league and never been heard of ever again.
What about Pastor Muppets?
Pastor Muppets can go jerk off with his albany mohawks. But the one guys like there's
mohawks.
I would say there'd be about 5 guys I wish that they would come back, and I'm not including LHX or Klein because they're recent. But Halifax would definitely be one. Sammy Smith. Just because of his Jeremy Roenick fucking songs was just fucking hilarious every time they would score. And then Robert Cron, the Terminator. King Raff would never come back, and it would only be like the gold mooring thing would have to come like coded out, which that's the next thing I'm actually working on is decoding the moorings to come off.
That's an annoying part of the game.
And then like Tickiness for sure. Like his game style was just unique from '94, but it was just really, really well. And I would love to have Moses come back, but I know Moses fucking rather shit in a bag than come back into the league. I
He
guess
started hating
Colin
this
too,
game
but the Colin, like I think he lost the love for the game. So
when he lost a few championships.
yeah.
Mhm.
I remember watching one of them on my balcony drinking tequila, laying on the stomach, and then it was just like, and then you keep hearing, like looking at Colin's face. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm defeated. But he was so hard. He was like, honestly, Sean, like laying you like is difficult, and it's like you have to be 100% on, or you're gonna get your ass handed to you. Colin was another, like he had a different level than you of psyche in my head, at least. Like I was like, he's on me, raping me like a child, and like honestly, I couldn't do anything against him. I think I scored 2 goals on him in like 5 games or 6 games.
Yeah, he also liked to win 14-0.
Yeah, he liked to fuck people. But I think with your game, Sean, it's elevated where like, you know, when somebody says you got to be good at one, master of one, but I'm like a court jester. I'm like, I'm not good at anything, but I master everything. Okay.
I still can't believe you knocked me out of high. Still
Ty Domi, Winnipeg Jets.
Anyway, let's move on. I mean, one of the things we were looking forward to talking to you about is some of these clarifying some of the rules, talking to you about how being the commissioner is and all that stuff. I mean, look, no, Nate and I talked about this before. Like nobody envies the spot you're in. Nobody wants to make decisions. It's never fun. I'm sure it's been a headache for you many, many, many times over the 13 seasons. And so, just wanted to start with that. I mean, both of us respect you for what you've done, and it's been a lot, I'm sure, and it's appreciated because it's not fun being the person who has to make decisions. We all know that. So starting with that. But I mean, tell us about it. Like how is it being the person who's got to be the one to make the call all the time?
It's actually fun sometimes.
Yeah,
You can
sometimes.
piss a lot of people off, but like me being who I am, I'm like, I want to try to make sure everyone's taken care of to some degree. But I think I've taken the approach this season where I'm like, I've taken that approach for too long and it's burnt me. People have bitched and moaned. Like, if I do one slip up, it's like, fuck, you're getting crucified for everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. It could be the smallest thing, as we see how Pink likes to like blow things out of proportion. And some of them are not even real, which I find kind of funny. So it's like false media. But at the same time, too, there's been times where like when I've said like rage quit, like throw my computer out the window, was like disconnect everything, remove myself from the environment, and just completely go MIA. Like I've come close a couple times. The aforementioned Michael Vick and Segathon situation was not a pleasant one to be a part of.
Was that the first big like controversy?
That was the first like guys are gonna quit if this is not handled correctly.
Right.
And it was like, fuck, what do I do? And the thing is, I spoke to them both individually, and I both told them, stay the fuck off Discord, play your series, then you can do whatever you want afterwards. But play your series, do not go on Discord. They're like, first thing, rant, gone. It was over. I was like, fuck. Like, I couldn't handle this shit. Like,
situation. Yeah.
So all I said was like, you know what? Like, you forfeit the series. I told you not to go on, and you went anyways. I don't want to be a fucking like a babysitter for everybody. They're fucking grown men. But we all know who Mike Vick is. Fucking heated blood. He's Italian. I'm Greek, so I can understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, too, you know what? Like, I asked you to do one thing and you couldn't even do that. Buried the hatchet. It's fine now. Everything's cool. Yeah. But at the same time, too, that was a stressful time. Then there was the one with Moses with I can't remember what situation that was. Somebody brought up something and it just fucking blew out of proportion, and I was just like, "Fuck, another one." And then
that was soon after too. That was probably what, season 3, season 4.
He was gone by season 5, I think. Moses played he beat King Raph, and then the following year he just gave up. Like there'd be games where he would pull his goalie, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Score on himself.
He was like, "I don't care." Yeah. So I think he was just trying to like slug his way through the season. But then there was situations where the rules would come in, and like every single situation that the rules have come up in the last 3 or 4 seasons, very unique situations where it's like I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan for this type of situation to occur. Like Red playing Maddie's games last season, it was more so that we can keep the season moving. And I spoke to Maddie, I spoke to Red. Maddie would play the playoffs, let him play his one time. Red was already telling me, I'm not playing the playoffs. So I'm like, cool. But everybody's interpretation was like, ooh, Red gets to play the playoffs. He takes Maddie's stacked team and blows everybody out. It's just like, don't look at it in that way. The database, you'll see also that there's going to be teams where somebody stepped in, it'll have both their names. So people will know, like, okay, this guy stepped in at some point to cover this guy's games this season. So asterisk next to it if you want. But the rule making is difficult as fuck because you can never prepare for anything. And when you do put a rule, people are like, oh, keep it simple. And then you put it simple and they're like, well, that didn't cover this. You're just like, how am I supposed to cover a situation
Well,
when
yeah,
something
I mean,
pops up?
of course. I mean, my whole life is planning for that kind of shit. And that's, it's not easy. You can't. Simplicity is everyone wants that, but that's not a good idea. When it
Well,
comes to
my
rules.
excitement in my day, you plan for that. I plan for people to die.
Yeah, that's easier. You can just dig some holes, toss them in. What the hell? You don't
No,
have to think
I
about
wait for
anything.
people to call me and say, hey, you know what? I need a casket. I'm like, great. And then
Great,
people
who
say,
does?
you're a sick fucker, Thomas. I'm just like, I am, especially when I see a fucking car pile up in the highway. Ooh, business is going to be booming this
Just
week.
handing out cards there on the side of the road.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If you need a casket, call me. 1-800-caskets. Call me tomorrow if you have to. Especially if you're Jewish and we know that you have to bury it the next day, so I don't have to wait. Sorry, that might have been insensitive, but I've grown to not care anymore.
We have gone through, like, so the question that we talked about last week, and I'm sure you heard it because you listened to the show, was how are we going to move forward, moving, like, looking ahead, how are decisions going to be made, how do new ideas get implemented? And I think you've taken a step back from being totally engaged, and probably for the better all around, because a lot of times I feel like this is with my kids, like, if you pay attention to them too much, they get into more trouble. Sometimes you gotta step back, which I think you've done this season.
Well,
Makes a lot of sense.
that's exactly what I've done. Like I said to
Totally.
myself, I have to take a step
And
back
things
from
sort
some degree.
themselves out, because most of the time it's just a bunch of people chiming in on things that aren't really important. But once in a while, there's something that comes up where a decision has to be made, or a new idea that's actually a good idea is going to be implemented. So the question that we were discussing is how does that happen? And I just kind
So
of want to talk about, like, kind of the past, and some of the things that the ways that it has attempted to be done, kind of moving over the last 13 years. So, like have you consciously kind of thought through how should decisions be made, and tried things out, or is it just like, kind of, we're just kind of rolling with it, we try to figure it out as we go?
well, I think it's more of the latter because it's difficult to prepare for certain situations that you're like, I just wasn't expecting this to happen.
Mhm.
But the one thing I have thought of, and it has been more effective, and even like there's been times where Kate, like I used to be engaged with everybody on Discord, and now it's more or less like I'm like, I need a fucking break. My brain can't fucking work like that.
Mhm.
And all the shit I've been through this past year has been like, not a lot of guys know, but went through a divorce, refinance, lost my like car, like fucking a whole bunch of shit blew up in my face. So trying to deal with that, the leagues and then work and trying to balance it all, work-life balance. Just, I said, no, what? I came to a point where I said, fuck it, I'm done. I'm
Mhm.
not fucking trying to race after trying to fix everybody's problems. I got my own. And I think a lot of guys, to some degree, take advantage of that, and they think that, like, you know what, I can flex Magnus to do something because he's going to do it. And I think me taking a step out of that picture doesn't allow people to really kind of say, "Oh, I'm going to flex on Magnus," and like he's going to fold on it. And like in the past, I have, and I have to admit that. But it was more to the sense of how are people going to approach things in the future, and it's been more of let somebody else handle it. And I appreciate you jumping in, Nate, whatever you've done to help as well. And like DS has great ideas. Sometimes they're out there, but he's engaged to want to help with those things, find scenarios where it
Sure,
makes
for sure.
the complexities being removed and make it more simplistic.
Yeah. So yeah, my question last week, I was like, how are we like because we've been discussing the lottery on here, and it's like how I guess like when there's a new idea come up, and some of these ideas are pretty ridiculous, and it's like they don't need to be discussed, you know.
But they are.
Majority of them for sure. But when there's like an issue, like I don't know, what's a different example, Sean? Can you think of like penalties? I guess could be one that like if
Game
everyone
injuries.
seems to want
Game
to
injuries.
be
Game injuries.
game
Game
Yeah.
injuries, something
injuries.
like this for sure. Game injuries. Like if everyone is like, hey, we hate this one thing, what is the like method in which we can get this or like I don't know, like is there a poll that we need to set up? Is there like how do we get this moving if people are all kind of on the
So
same page or you know?
So the thing I've kind of taken the approach lately with it is that if I see enough people engaged on the topic, then the topic deserves to be recognized as something that's legit that needs to be viewed or implemented. Like the one thing I do enjoy that we've done is having the queue as a test pilot for anything we want to try that's fucking out there.
Yeah, fair.
And like we started with manual goalie, no penalties. Everybody was like, hey, you know what? This is good. You know what? Speeds up the game. You get more games in. You don't have to worry about it. Then it was full game injuries. People are like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't like losing my player, but you got a shit roster. You got to really test it. Then it was like, what was the other thing we did? Widescreen.
Widescreen. Yeah, that
Everyone's
was
like
improved.
widescreen. We're like, oh shit, I get to see more of the ice. I get to do this. I get to that. I've adjusted it now where the box scores and stuff move over to the side. Then this season, no icing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, let's try this out. Does it work? No. Okay, let's revert back
Yeah,
to
so
what
that's
it was.
testing ground. That's like G
It's
League in
testing ground.
basketball. Like,
Right.
yeah, like I
So like
agree.
even
That
our
should be. Yeah,
rules,
it should be.
like even the rules that are implemented in the queue are far more detailed than there it is in the W, and no one's pushed back on it. And I think Sean and DS and I'm not sure who else was a part of that, but it was very well done. In
It was
some
mostly
sections.
Caden. Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, and then Caden, honestly, like I gotta tip my hat to him. Like he stepped up and he said, "No, what? I'll take care of the queue. You can focus on the W." And it's more like he deals with the admin like Discord stuff because since Salvo left, like that's nothing against Salvo. Salvo set up the Discords with like automation and everything like that. It's been great. Ellis has been. He's gonna win the freaking like the Aftershock Cup for the next 40 years until I'm gone.
You know, it's kind of like just not to interrupt you on that, but like I can't even say enough of how amazing it is to just pump the states in there and then the box scores appear. It's all so awesome. You know, I can just follow along. I know Lloyd just won tonight. Like it's amazing.
And then the great thing is about it too is that it's going to eventually be like on the website where like everything's automated. You can see it on the website. You're instead of going onto the Google Sheets, everything's going to be on the website. And you can see it, kind of like '94. I had the opportunity to piggyback onto their platform, but I'm like, no, that's not us. This is how we run. I want us to have our own thing. Our own legacy is '95, but yeah,
Sorry.
it's.
I interrupted you, but let's go back to Nathan's question, which, you know, using the example from the queue, which is a good example. Let's say no icings. Let's say the queue tries it out. Really, everyone loves it. I'm not saying that's the case. Maybe I know people are concerned about no icings, but whatever. How do you get to what happens to bring that to the W? What's the mechanism? Is there a mechanism? Is it just you're going to make a decision at some point, or is it like you're going to put it to
I'm not going to make a
vote?
decision. Like I've done it in the past where I've done a knee jerk reaction and implemented something like on the spot saying, okay, it's starting now. And everyone's like, fuck, like we didn't even have a season to kind of go through the process to see how it's done. So I've taken a step away from that. But having the queue as a platform, people are in the queue are also in the W. They'll go to the W and start talking about it. Starts the conversation. If people are saying, yeah, let's have this, there's likely someone going to post a poll. Let's have a poll. So that's where I've disengaged myself from having to like run every aspect of every single thing of every single league. There's people that have jumped in, and Klein's talked about it in the past, and I appreciate him, and I really do. Hope he comes back, but he mentioned you have to allocate other people to do stuff. Don't take it all on yourself because you're going to burn out. Sure enough, I ended up burning out, and that's where I needed to take a step aside. But like, I think having a poll would be a great way to do it. And I don't want people to go in to be like, yeah, I want it because I want it. It's just like, think about everybody else in the league, how it's going to impact them. Like, do you really need to have icing? And it's just like people bitch and moan about one detail that they don't like. So that doesn't justify a change. But
yeah, I guess that's the point. It's like I agree the poll is the way to go for this, but I'm like, how do we is it just going to end up being every little issue, or like how do we like deem an issue worthy enough to have a poll? Like in my opinion, like penalties now probably can be put to a poll. I don't know about how many other issues that are like like icing. I don't know. It doesn't really matter yet. I don't think many people are
I think a
complaining.
lot of people have mentioned this a lot of times, and
Yeah,
I think Segathon has been the preacher of them all. Use the queue as your test area. See how guys like it. If you're not a part of the queue, come and try the queue for a season. It's kind of like the pure. Try it and see if you like it.
yeah,
Doesn't mean you have to stay. There's some work behind to add in an extra team. It doesn't really matter, but it does give you the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? This doesn't work. Don't do it. And there's something about penalties in the W, but I think it has gotten to the point where people are like, get rid of the fucking penalties.
maybe I don't know. The conversation, I'm not sure, but like it would be nice to kind of test it. I think now, I don't know. I'm not sure if you have
I
thoughts on
think there
that,
needs
Sean, or what, but
I think there needs to be a channel strictly for polls where
yeah,
people don't go in and chime
right,
about it. Just do the poll, see what it is, have the result. That's it. It's done.
right.
At one point, so going back, so I'm trying to think of the few different ways that things were kind of done. There were
Committees.
the committees, like the committees turned into a shit show, but the committees seemed like a good idea on their face. So like, I'm not sure why they turned into a shit show, other than people.
I
I don't
think
know
it's
why.
trying to think who should be a part of that committee.
That's a good
That's where the
call.
shit show came in. Like where I would be like, okay, trade committee. I was like, okay, there was like 4 guys a part of it, and then
Right.
you'd have one person who would be like tiebreaker. But then that would be like, okay, who if he's not online, he's not going to approve it,
Yeah,
and people
yeah,
are bitching at that person.
Mhm.
Where then Nips enjoys it. Nips will say, "Hey, we're all like, you know what? We don't really need a committee for trades
Yeah.
because you
yeah,
know what? You're a
yeah.
grown man. You know how to make your fucking trade. You
Right.
made a
This
dumb one.
method's working well, I think. Yeah,
I've made enough dumb fucking trades in my freaking
Right.
W career, and I
Yeah,
think to
and Nips is basically like administering it now, which is smart. He's not
which is good. It allows
vetoing
him to have,
anything.
it allows to because you know what, Nips is great. He streams awesome, all that stuff. But other than that, he likes him and Puss like to chirp. That's all they do, which I love it. And continue doing it, brothers. Keep doing you Yenses. But I'm happy that he's taken over that component
Mhm.
because he likes it. He can do it. He can post the trades done. Caden's taken over more of an administrative back end stuff,
Mhm.
which is amazing, which I don't have to do. Ellis is assisted with like the automation port.
Yeah.
You have taken over as the podcast because there's no other podcast going on anymore. And it's not by default, but you guys actually run a good show. It's not like the Wolf and Klein where everything's biased. But literally, it talks about Wolf's team. I want to talk about my team, like the Fortress. The Fortress is him camping like a pussy. But going back to what Nate says, like the rules, I think it comes down to having a legitimate conversation about something. Do we want to change the game any more than it already has?
right.
The
Like I
fact
don't
that
think
we're
it
not
need. I don't think there
using
needs to be huge changes now. Like I think it's running pretty well. Penalties would be the only thing, and I'm not even sure that needs. I don't know how that vote would go, to be honest. Like I
there's
know it
one.
sounds very loud that people don't want penalties. Last time we voted, it was like 50-50 almost. I mean, maybe
Love
if
them or
we
you
have
hate
to
them.
vote on something, it needs to be 60-40, 60% yes. Like,
I like
something
that.
like this, right? Where it needs to
So
be just
there's 2 things, and I would say it's a 1 and a sub A. So 1 is getting rid of the full game injuries. I'd
which
say
I don't
like
understand. I love that. I
okay, well,
really enjoy the full game injuries. I
Me too.
don't
Me too.
yeah, I don't see
so
any problem with
the reason why I did the full game injuries and reduced the roster so they're a part of each other is that you only got 8 guys now.
Yeah.
2 of them get injured. You got defensemen playing forward,
I've
and
had
they're
We
that
not
saw
too.
that
ready
in
for
the
that.
playoffs, right? Like you said it last week, Sean. You had
Yeah.
Kozlov or something. Like I had the
Yeah.
one guy, Zajac last. Like it makes it fun, man. Like I think it's just
It's
way
a
better, way
component
better.
I think is important to have.
Yeah.
I have floated the thought of having another league. It's just 3-on-3, so more open ice, full game injuries, and you only got like 5 guys instead of 10. I don't know. It's just ideas I'm floating in my head, and
Right.
it's not a time for now to even discuss any further. But I'd say full game injuries to a degree should be a poll, and roster size. I don't think anybody's complained about it, so that's not going to
Yeah,
get changed
You know
anytime
what?
soon.
The roster size I was really skeptical about at the time, but I like it now. I think it's really good.
yeah, I
It
think so
just
too.
gives more players for everybody to choose from. I think it's really
Well,
good.
not only that, like you're more prone to want to be open to a trade because you're like, I only got 3 defensemen. I need one I can trade to fill the spot, and then whoever the bum is behind. Then you find out a playoff situation, you lose your defenseman. You're like,
Get a
shit,
25 overall guy.
And I know a lot of people ask, why do I get a 25 overall for my player? Is because seasons where they don't play or they were injured or they played in the KHL, they get 0. So you don't lose the player. You just have to deal with them for one shit season.
It'd be nice to like mod them in on a wheelchair so they have to like be on the ice, like, or like with like a broken arm or something, like full injury.
So the hard thing is in the code, you only have so many pixels for the sprites, which is the players, to mod them. So if you mod one, you have to mod them all.
Yeah, it might be.
So the only thing I can really do is change the celebrations. So you don't have to see that guy with his arm like shaking the stick. I can do like the flurry spin where he's with the Calgary Flames. I can add that. I can add the salute if I wanted to, but then it would be every goal.
Have you thought about a new ideas committee that would be like the gatekeepers, so it doesn't not just random shit going to polls all the time?
Oh, fuck.
How would this work? What do you mean by this?
Well, I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now as we're talking about that. Like, if the question always becomes, what is the mechanism for something to happen, right? So, Nate, if you're like, me, Nate Bell, I think penalties are the shit. I want rid of them. I want to call a poll. So how does that happen? Is it a free for all? Anybody can go into the polls channel and just start a poll, and then if there's a 60% it goes through. That seems like a bit of anarchy to me. Does there need to be a gatekeeper before Nate goes onto the poll channel and posts his poll at 3 a.m. while he's listening to 80s hair metal?
Hair metal eating horse meat. So I think to some degree there needs to be a gatekeeper, but I think they're actually, like I mentioned earlier, and Nate mentioned it too, is that whenever we post a poll, it seems like chaos happens when there's a poll and people start chiming in. And I know G-Lock, DS, and Puss, doesn't matter what time of day it is, they're going to be posting something at some time.
Which is, I think you need, like, if there's going to be a poll, it needs to be kind of well thought through and also like explained to everybody before the poll. I think that's the critical part here. Like, it's like, hey, no penalties is what we're doing. Play penalties. Here's how many stats there are for penalties. Blah, I don't know, whatever, sort of explanation. And the poll's going to start in 3 days to give people time to think about it.
So I think like Puss has been really, really good at it, and I think he would be the ideal person for it because he tends to be thought out process. He's that type of person that has that mentality for it. So I think the thing that we should do is, since we have trade discussion, then confirmed trades, we should have poll discussion, which you can chat in, and then there's the polls.
Okay, I like that.
I really like that, and I really like that Puss would be the guy to do it because he's the perfect guy.
Yeah, so like I thought about a lot of guys that I can put in positions, and I've thought about this over the years, like literally physical years, not league years, is that there's guys for specific committees. I don't think there's a committee, just like a gatekeeper for each category of some sort, where I think Nip's having the trades. He enjoys that. He likes trading. It gives him something that fuels him, and he can chirp people about their dumb fucking moves, including myself. You and DS and Caden working on like rules and how they should be implemented, or like the structures of them. And I think that's a thorough process. I think Puss being the poll keeper is really good. Ellis doing the box score bot, he's got that. I do the mods. And then there's kind of like, there's guys all placed around. Caden loves running the draft, which is amazing, which he does. I like doing the live draft, but like sometimes I'm not available that day. So, and especially since I like doing the live ones and showing the board, which it worked for one round.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Really, yeah, no, that sounds like a really good idea. And I think Puss is the right guy for that. He'd be perfect at it. So that's cool. And then, all right, that's really good. Is there any other ideas?
So what's, I just got a question about lottery system. Like, what are we doing with that then?
So lottery system, we've tried it before, and then you get some fucking whack job that wants to trade for the.
We did it once, right?
We've done it a couple times.
The year that Wolf cried? Was that the only one?
Wolf cried about the lottery, and I said, you have a 5% chance to get it. And then
I think everyone understands that now. Like, I don't see a similar situation if it is implemented with notice and like.
I think this is a poll situation. I think this is a poll situation, and the lottery is based It should be based on how you finish. That's your poll spot, but then the lottery is only like the bottom 5 teams. Those are the only 5 teams that have a chance for the first overall. The shitty bill used to be that. It used to be the opportunity for somebody who finished poorly still has an opportunity for the number 1 overall, but after that, everybody else falls in line. So you would have a person who would tank, blow everybody out, take the title, win the overall pick, and then trade them in the same draft even. But I think the lottery should be for the bottom 5 teams. Doesn't matter their order, but based on a percentage.
Yeah, I really like how the NBA does it, where you have, and even Atlanta last year, they're 10th worst team, and they get the first overall pick, but the teams at the bottom can't fall very far. You know, they're still like Maddie's never going to fall below
shift down
4.
to 1. Like Maddie will never
Exactly.
fall. We did it in the
Exactly.
queue, which I think the queue worked pretty good, where you actually had the lottery, and it was like, I think I had the worst experience. I went from 1 to 9.
Oh yeah, I was in the queue when you were doing it that way. It was
Yeah.
good. It was really good. It was like an exciting event, you know?
Yeah. So basically, the thing that happened, Nate, that we calculated out is the top. I think we were 20 teams, and I think the top 10 teams had a spot. And those spots would be like you get 23%, 14%, 15%, and working your way down to like if you were number 10, you got like 5%. So in the wheel would be every single team's probability. So there'd be like 100 slots, but 23 of them were yours if you were the first overall pick.
Yeah.
So the likelihood is that, or it was a reverse. So like if you were 10th,
yeah.
you had 23 spots.
Right.
And then if you were the worst team, you only had 5. So the likelihood of you landing in within that 100 wasn't
super
off.
low. Yep.
It was super low, but you would still get hit. So guys would shift around, but not a huge drop.
Yeah. That's my question. Like, is there a cap? Because I think there needs to be a cap of like, you know, let's say Maddie's got the worst record, he can't fall lower than 4 or whatever it is. Like I think NBA's 4.
That's normally what happened. And I think in the queue we ran 4 lotteries, and I think of all the drops, I think they only happened twice where somebody dropped drastically, and I was one of them, and I didn't really care. But then you got guys who were just like about to join the league and they're finished bad. They're like, I need
like
a
that's
good
what we
player,
don't want,
and then
right?
they drop that far.
Yeah.
So
like I think it would be nice for like teams in the 10 or whatever slot to have a minuscule chance that also like creates more trades, gives more incentives for people to trade with those teams.
So I think the lottery is a great idea, but then comes into this whole Sutton thing because he's mentioned lottery protected. It came into that whole fucking. That's just one layer
don't
of
go
that
there.
shit
Don't
that we
go
don't
there.
need to have.
No.
So it's more the way I look at it is that if you own a top 5 pick and it's been traded from 3 seasons or 2 seasons ago, like what we're dealing right now with Puss, that's Puss's pick, regardless of however things rolled out. He traded that for 2 or 3 seasons ago, knowing full well that Maddie was going to be a low-end team. Right. And Maddie made that trade knowing full well what he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't penalize Puss because of a poor decision.
Not at all.
But a lottery wouldn't change that. It would just be Puss's is sitting in Maddie's slot.
Exactly, but he would only have a 23% chance to fall within the top 3 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think the lottery should be put to a poll.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to talk to the gatekeeper about that.
Puss, you've been nominated. And you can't refuse.
Let's go through. So the season ended tonight. The only guy who didn't was Maryland Mike. Unfortunately, you know, we all like Mike and we understand it was a personal issue. I don't think anybody knows the personal details. We don't need to know it. But what happens? Walk us through what is the rule? Like, I know there's a Q rule that's been written. Is the W rule the same? How is this going to work?
I think since it was not put into the league rules for the W, but at least explaining it should be applied the same way, but with a minor adjustment, is that since Maryland Mike didn't finish his season. He's the only guy in the league that did not finish his year and played more than 75% of his or 50% of his games, just say. Because I think that was the threshold we were kind of discussing. And I think if you've played more than 50% of your games, you've been committed to the season.
Yep, fair.
If you didn't play, like say you played 14 of 52, you're like, you weren't fully engaged. You didn't really play all your games. Your game statistics will stay the same, but your season will be wiped. So standings will be removed. Because I think for
Whoa, back up,
statistical,
back up. What do you mean by that?
so like say for you and I, we played, and I only played 10 games that season.
Mm-hmm.
But the game you played 2 of them versus me.
Yep.
I think for the head-to-head historical data,
They stay.
They stay because that's important to know. Like, hey, you know what? Even though you didn't play, like you haven't played in 2 years, or this is the first time we played in 3 seasons. It'd be nice to know when the last time we played.
Right.
I think that's good to keep, but
Right.
your standings information gets wiped.
So
For the
those
current
games
season.
disappear for the current season. Yeah.
Your games played in the standings will disappear. All those statistics for the standings are removed, but your game data,
Like the Maddie situation is current.
Maddie's standings were wiped.
Yeah.
All his games were wiped. Everybody who played him were wiped, but his statistics against those guys who
gotcha.
he did play stay.
So
Caden's done it. Caden's done it in the past where he's wiped them out of the data,
Gotcha.
and it's a bitch to go and adjust everything.
I see. Yeah.
But for the current season, how Maddie's played out, in my opinion, that was the way to do it. You had to wipe those games, otherwise there were, I forget the number, 12 teams or something that didn't play him. That would have been people.
He was at 20. He was at 26 games, and then there's 4 games that popped up like within like 2 or 3 days after he announced it. So I don't know if those games were played.
Right. I think they were a joke, but anyway.
Whatever it may have been, Matty was not going to hit the threshold of like over 50%. And he had already told me, and he's told the league. And I told him, take the next season off, pause, figure shit out. If you want to come back, you're open, you keep your team. Not you go back into the team goes back into the draft.
Yeah, makes sense. So easy solution on that one. You wipe the games, it all starts fresh. It's simple.
But since Mike finished more than 50% of his games, the teams that he played do not get impacted. You finish where you finish.
So that's going to be the cutoff, the 50%. I know in the queue, when we did the rules, we put it at 75%, but that was honestly, like, because I wrote this, so I'm honest about it, that was literally out of the top of my head. 75% just seems
75% seems a legit thing.
Mike didn't hit 75, which is interesting.
I think in the W this year it made sense because Maddie's team was at 50 and we wiped his games. But since Mike was over that amount, he was at 38.
Yeah,
you're like, okay, you got 14 games left in the season. Like,
so we're just going to leave it all as is. If you did not play Mike, you just lost the chance to get some wins against him.
Exactly. And then the teams that did play him, okay, granted, you got the opportunity before situation happened. Mm-hmm. You can't predict those things to happen.
Yeah.
But you're not penalizing anybody that played him. But you also, in a way, people would say, well, you're penalizing us because we didn't get to play him. I'm like, if you did, it wouldn't have affected the standings anyways. If you look at the standings and the gap between the players, it would have not impacted anything. Maybe some seeding in the playoff teams, but like
in this case, but if this had been Don instead of Maryland Mike, people would have been like, "Fuck off! I've got 2 guaranteed wins." Like, no offense to Don, of course, but like one of the lower guys, you know. So that's where you get into the issue. With Maryland Mike's a little different, but anyway, I think that's a fair rule. That the way you're laying it out, that makes sense to me. That if it's whatever, as long as everyone knows the rules, you know.
Yeah, and I think having it laid out, being like, if we decide that, and I think we should apply whatever the Q rules are to the W because it's worked in the Q.
And then maybe we adjust the Q rules to match that threshold, whatever that. If that's ends up being 50%,
the W would match the threshold. So, like, I'd say, like in the W, it should be 75. I'd say even 80.
We may want to think through. I mean, that 75 number was just pulled out of my head, but like, we may want to think through what is appropriate. Like 75 would have put Mike at 40 games. No, that's 80%, but roughly whatever. Anyway, point is that for this season, I guess is what you're saying, that they will stay the way they are, and Mike will. Yeah, and then we can talk about the draft after. But for the purposes of standings for playoffs, they'll stay the way.
Yeah. So regardless of how everything standed in the standings, since he did more than 50% of his games, standings stay as it is. Nothing gets wiped. It is what it is. Okay. Move on. It's done. Play. That's why we always say play your fucking games.
Okay. So now let's talk about the draft. So the teams that did not get to play Mike kind of lose out in the opportunity to move up in the standings, but win in the draft position because they have less points than they otherwise might have. So is that going to stay? Does that make sense?
Fair, personally.
I do think, because we haven't tested this, I'd say you are where you are.
Yeah, because it kind of does balance then. Like the guy who, the one noticeable guy in the standings is Unholy. I don't know if so Unholy had a chance to win 2 more games against Mike, which would have put him potentially over Puss. Could have got him into 5th. So
So he keeps his draft spot.
being penalized by that, but he also now gets draft selection 1 higher than Puss. So he
So
wins and he
like
loses.
Balances out, I think.
So somebody you would look at in being that situation would be G-Lock, for an example. G-Lock being a bubble team, didn't make the playoffs, and basically he's there, but say he traded that pick to somebody who was at the end of the round. So say it was yourself, Sean. Just say it was that. So you've actually taken over his spot, but say like he had won 2 extra games, he might have been in the playoffs. Then you're playing a playoff team and you've actually lost that spot. So like how you just said like the benefit of not
goes
playing
both
somebody,
ways, right? Yeah.
if you benefit of not playing somebody, and I know the whole -4 points you should be added onto your standings and stuff. It's just a convoluted, or it's an overdoing a rule that just be you finish where you finish. Done.
Yeah. Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Way.
Yeah.
But I do think figuring out the threshold is the important thing, so people can be like, you know what, he didn't pass 50%. Games are wiped, and everybody knows the rule. You know what's going to happen.
Right.
And so the other part about the Q rules is that if you don't finish, so in Mike in this situation, your pick drops to the end of the first round.
Correct.
Is that same thing here?
In this instance, I would say yes. And I think it's the simple way to do it because, and it's not to penalize Mike, and I know that the conversation might come up as a wheel. What should happen in a wheel situation?
Well, that was the next topic we have, yeah.
So if we ask the question, and I'll continue.
Look, I'm not going to ask a question. I'm going to give you my opinion on the wheels.
Okay.
I think this wheel thing is utter nonsense, and I think it's not the deterrent that we want to have, which is to get people to play their games. To me, pulling players off of teams when a big part of this league is building a roster is not an appropriate level of deterrent for something to happen. That's my own thought, and I don't know what Mike's personal situation is, but to me, punishing him by pulling potentially like his best player off the roster because he has some issue going on is way over proportionate to the offense.
And I 100% agree with you. The reason why the wheel was there was to deter people that were, and we started it in the queue as well, was because it was like, okay, you know this league is meant to be quick, and you're fucking up by screwing everybody else up. We're going to penalize you because you know better. But I think for the W, it makes sense of not doing it. The wheel was fun. It ran its course. Everybody enjoyed it because of the thrill. But you know what? It's done. I don't want to see a wheel again.
Well, let's save the wheel for the lottery. Then it's perfect, right? We don't need for this.
The wheel for the lottery, or the wheel for the like an expansion team kind of thing would be good. Like if there's like 3 expansion teams coming, you guys get wheeled, and these are the players. You don't even get to choose your roster. Your roster's done by a wheel.
Great.
Something like that. I don't know, just something gimmicky, but it's short term and it's over with and move on. But in Maryland and Mike's position, I still think kicking him to the end of the first is like still penalizing him for a family situation. I know everybody could say, "Oh, I had a family situation. Leave me where I am." But I think the easiest thing, you finish where you finish. Done. No wheel, no penalty, dropping into the end of the round. Because if they say they take a season of a pause, so like Klein and Gaelic took a season pause. Doing a season pause, your team goes to the end of the round because you didn't have a season to project where you should finish, so you're actually at the end.
Well, they're not drafting, right, this year, I assume? Or I guess if they
come back. If they come back, they get the draft, but they're at the end of the first round.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So they'll be there with Mike.
Correct.
Yeah.
But Mike's not getting kicked down. Mike's not getting kicked down to the end of the first. He stays where he's finished.
Oh, interesting. So that's different than the queue.
So the only difference is that that's what I'm saying, because it's in the queue, but in the W, I think it makes sense. You finish where you finish, it's done. That's the written rule. The only difference is that your draft position changes because you didn't play them.
So the devil's advocate in me is going to say there's a potential that a guy is like, let's say you're at 40 games and you're like, I'm probably not going to make the playoffs here. I'm just going to not play 10 more fucking games to make sure my draft pick is 6th over. I
think there needs to be some penalty, and I think exactly what you described in the queue.
Okay, then we'll put them at the end.
I think it makes perfect sense to me.
Then I think putting them at the end of the first is the penalty.
I think it makes sense, right?
And it makes sense. But the thing is that since Maryland Mike played this season, he would be before Gaelic and Klein.
Fair. Yeah, totally.
Because
I don't know how do you feel about that, Sean? Like, I think there needs to be a deterrent, or exactly like what you said is like maybe someone is like, yeah, fuck it, I'm not playing my last 8 games. I'll just keep my draft position. I might win.
Like think about Philly. Like Philly, Chris came on tonight. He's clearly like on his way out to vacation or somewhere. Comes on tonight to play his last 2 games. If he won those 2 games, he might have sacrificed himself a draft pick
100%.
that otherwise he would have just said, "Fuck it, why don't I just wait?" So if the penalty for him not coming on tonight is go to the end of the first round instead of his pick 4 or whatever, that's a huge deterrent and enough. You don't need a wheel because that's enough of a deterrent.
So that's what we'll do then. So I think that should be written to some degree is that if you don't finish your season, you're at the end of the first. But if you played and there's a pause team, the pause teams go behind you because because you didn't have a season, so you can't determine you should be higher.
Yeah.
And the 3-year average thing, I don't think that should apply to pause teams. You're there. The only time it happens is if like my first round pick this year was traded to Salvo.
Right.
That just basically becomes a pass.
Right.
So right. That's an easy one.
Me would pick.
But the reverse, if Salvo had traded you his first round pick this year and then hadn't played, then you do the 3-year average.
What happens?
I would have to be at the end of the first round. I'd have to be at the end of the
first round.
Interesting. I thought you would do the 3-year average.
Because I would still technically have a first. I had traded something away, but for a team that had disbanded. So
let's talk about Maddie's pick, which Puss has, as we know. So this, I mean, it's controversial because Puss has it, but let's leave our emotions at the door here. So this is a guy.
It would be a different story.
It's also chaotic because you have Red playing Maddie's season last year, which is, ironic now that we're talking about this right now. But so in any situation where a guy has traded his first round pick and then has left the league halfway through the season to take a break, if he had not traded his pick, as you just said, he would have been put to the end of the first round because he just didn't finish.
Correct.
But because he traded his pick, it doesn't seem fair to say, well, sorry, the guy you got a guy who dropped out halfway, so you now are at the end of the first round. That doesn't seem like a fair thing when you made an honest trade with the guy 2 seasons ago.
And that's the thing is that that's like another sub rule of like the complexities get there now more often than not, and we're seeing more complexities each passing season. That there's a new rule that should be implemented that we weren't projecting for, or everything was going to happen.
Always will be, probably.
We would have never done that. So the rule, I think, to some degree, should be if the trade had happened this season. So, like, say Puss and Maddie traded at the beginning of this year, that pick would go at the end of the first.
Interesting, because Puss would have been able to predict
a season ago. You can't penalize Puss for that.
So
you
then
can't penalize anybody for that.
Yeah. So then you look if in this situation where Maddie's pick, you take the last 3 seasons that Maddie played and average
which he'd be at the bottom no matter what.
He's at the bottom, yeah. So Puss is going to get number 1 overall pick.
Correct.
Sucks, but
unless we do the lottery, which I don't think putting the lottery in this year, and I think that was where I would always have those knee-jerk reactions. Implementing something in a season that
makes sense,
you can't go changing a rule mid-year.
Yeah, I think
everyone's just like, well, why are you doing that? I would have done a different off season if I had done that.
Agreed.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Puss is the gatekeeper, so if he wants to implement the lottery, out of an abundance of fairness,
testing Puss's fairness,
testing Puss's morality.
Anything Puss is going to do, he's going to probably say, hey, I want to trade this first overall pick for the King's ransom and your whole roster.
Yeah.
But I do think the rule should be is if you had made the trade beyond this current season, like prior, your pick should not be impacted by that. It should be the 3-year average based on that.
Okay, but so just so I'm understanding, like I've got Crab's pick next year, for example. If he were to drop out, I would get his 3-year average then or something?
Say if he dropped out, we start season 14 and he drops out after 5 games.
Plays 10 games, yeah, exactly. Okay.
Your pick stays where his 3-year average is.
Right.
Gotcha.
So 3 years of Crab's average.
You're not penalizing you because he quit.
And the Maddie one is is that like we're just eliminating red for playing with him? Is that what we're saying? Like his 3-year average of him playing, or this is a different
It's
situation?
3-year average of him playing. Somebody's sitting
Gotcha.
because that's
Okay.
why in like
I
the
think that's
league
fair.
database, it's going to have the asterisks with the other guy.
It's hilarious that Red played it, and it would be funny to make Puss get picked 17 or whatever because of that, but it wouldn't make any sense. Puss traded for Maddie's pick, not for Red's pick with Maddie's pick.
Well, there was like Puppet Master and then Leviathan. There's been teams where somebody's come in and taken it over, and like they're like, well, you're going to penalize that guy because he took over a team and helped us out. So,
gotcha. Okay.
The way
Just
I look at
it, I wasn't sure if he was getting the pick because that's where Maddie left off this year. He was
it's
last,
based on
it's the 3-year for Maddie.
So it'd be like if you dropped out, Nate, we'd take your 3 years.
Gotcha.
That you've played.
My previous 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will need to do the actual averaging of Maddie's points to see if it's worse than Don's points this year. Because it's not necessary. Even though Maddie was first pick every time, we don't know what his points were. You know what I'm saying?
So the thing is Don's only played 2 or 3
do
seasons.
Don's points this year or Don's points for the 3 years?
Look at we're trying to figure out where Maddie's should fall in this year's standings, right? Based on his 3 years average points that he would have gotten if he played, which
like
we're assuming his
or...
winning percentage for those 3 past years. What is it average? If that's higher than Don's current
season's average, because that's where he would position himself.
Don has 0.042 percentage winning percentage.
No, so Maddie's would fall below Don's.
So if Maddie's average was 0.052, he would be second pick, not the first pick.
Second overall.
Right? Okay. I think that's the only fair way, because otherwise you're saying, well, Maddie had first pick in previous three seasons, but every year is different. It's not
exactly.
Don wasn't in those.
It should be based on win percentage, but the way we have to look at it is that if the trade had not happened in the current season, it's a 3-year average. Yeah. If it happened in the current one, ended the first round.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense to me. I don't know. I guess
it simplifies things. It penalizes the person who knows that their season, for whatever reason, doesn't matter.
My gut reaction when you said if it was this year's season, it would go to the end of the round. My gut reaction was like, that doesn't make any sense. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about it. That's a smart move because it prevents the buddy who's like, I'm leaving the league this season from trading his other. It prevents me trading Nate because I'm like, I know I'm fucking done in 2 games. I'm going to trade my brother my first round pick, and then he's going to lose.
Yeah.
So I think it is smart.
Just do that.
So you're penalizing the person you're trading with. If you're looking to be a fucking